Travel nursing can bring you to places you've never been before. Tell us your story.
Hey, hi everybody in Facebook and YouTube. It's Rita at the Travel Nurse Channel, and this is Sarah Judy beside me. We're actually at two different locations. Sarah Judy is a nurse since 2012. She's got quite a few years under her belt, and she's going to talk about it. And she's also done some traveling, so that's a big focus for this channel. And I'm just going to say, Sarah, tell us how you got started in the whole travel deal, and where, sort of bring us from 2012 up to where we are in 2021. You actually probably took travel assignments during COVID as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Bless you for doing that. Bless you for doing that. Okay. And she survived. Okay.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Sarah. Yes, I've been a travel nurse, or I've been a nurse in 2012. Graduated from Gonzaga University in 2012, then signed on just as a per diem as my first job up in Bellingham, Washington, which is northern Washington near the Canadian border. Did that for about a year, and then got into a government program that does loan repayment options, and you're required to work in a high Medicare, Medicaid, low-income population area. So I ended up getting a job in a tiny town in North Carolina, working at a 25-bed critical access hospital. This is the first time I've ever lived by myself, like out on my own, moved out there all alone. Did that for about 3 years and was the craziest job I think I've had so far. You took care of anywhere between like an 8-month-old to a 102-year-old, like pediatric through ICU, kind of the whole gamut. The closest like level 1 trauma was almost an hour away. So we would keep patients.
You did it all. So, but did that really truly help you pay off your loans?
It did. I think I got like 40 to 50% of my loans paid off doing that.
That's really a smart move. How did you find out about that?
I had someone in nursing school had mentioned it one time, like I think my junior year. And then I just kind of had thought about it. It was actually in 2012 when I graduated, it was really hard for me to find a new grad position.
Right. That's still an issue, I believe.
Yeah, as I've heard. And so I finally got in at my local hospital, and then I had remembered them talking about this program through the government. I think it's the HSSA, through HSSA. Okay. But yeah, nurses can sign up. You have to have a position beforehand, but if your facility qualifies, then you can apply for this loan repayment program. And I think it's
so the per diem job you had in Washington met the criteria to get onto that.
No, they actually didn't. They weren't ranked. They rank facilities or whatever on this scale, and they weren't ranked high enough to get into the program. So I found that job in North Carolina first that I knew would rank high enough. And then applied for that job and got in, or applied for the program and got in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Wow. It's kind of complicated, but it was totally worth it. I think they take as many people as they can a year within their monetary means or whatever grants they have for that program at that time. So.
Wow. And did you have choices besides North Carolina? You had nothing closer to home?
There was a few, but this was the one that I found that would most likely guarantee that I got into the program. So I was like, all right, we're going to middle of nowhere, North Carolina.
Okay. So then 3 years in, you probably want to get closer to home again, right?
Yeah, I did. Actually, I did. I missed my family. We did a huge road trip back to North Carolina with my whole family, which was awesome. But I met a few travel nurses that actually worked at our small hospital there, and thought it sounded really interesting and something that I would really like to do. I was kind of tired of hospital politics at that time, so I felt like travel nursing would kind of get me out of that cycle for a while. And I actually found a travel position back at my home hospital that I started at. So I started travel nursing at my original facility that I worked in as a new grad.
Can I interrupt you, Sarah? Was your first travel assignment 13 weeks?
Yes, it was. It was only 13 weeks. I didn't extend. And then
what were you doing? Were you doing med surge, tele?
I was doing progressive care, cardiac step down.
Okay.
Yeah, which is kind of my niche of nursing right now.
I did a lot of that myself. I totally appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah. And not a lot of facilities actually have that specific unit. A lot of times it's tele is what is their like step down unit, or just random med.
There's tele and there's, 1 day post cardiac surgery.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then from there, I just have kind of traveled all over the country the past 5.5 years, and I just started a per diem job here in Seattle to kind of stay closer to my family.
Yes. And someone special you met.
Yes, and a special man I met while I was traveling.
Okay, so the person you met is another nurse, maybe?
No, he's actually in construction. So he is building our new hockey arena in Seattle.
You knew what?
We're getting a hockey team in Seattle.
Oh my gosh, that's a big job.
Yeah, so he's building their arena, and it should be finished here in the next couple of weeks. So
wow, that's exciting.
But he's kind of a traveler too, so he moves every couple of years, where I would move every 3 to 6 months. A little different, but kind of in the same realm of being a travel professional.
Were you able to travel to the same areas, or you had to do the long distance thing?
We have actually only stayed in Seattle since we started dating. So, but he's ready to move at the beginning of next year, so we'll see where that goes. If I end up
now that is a side of travel nursing that I haven't really hit on. I've talked about families traveling together. I've talked about couples that are both healthcare that travel together. I knew one couple where he was a CAT scan technician and she was a transcriptionist.
Oh, okay.
So they would look for assignments where they could both go to the same hospital. And I met them, and they wound up staying and moving to Southern California.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I think there's kind of a rule, and it could vary from company to company. But when you get close to that year mark of traveling to the same facility, there's a decision to either leave, get another travel assignment, or go on staff. Yep. They went on staff.
That's kind of where I was. I was traveling in Seattle and like surrounding area, and I'd hit my year mark, and I still wanted to keep seeing him. So I was like, okay, I'll just go per diem for now.
Wow. So that's really, that is kind of power packing a lot of travel. And honestly, your first assignment, even though you were doing it for the, the loan, what do they say? Loan repair, not loan repair, but loan assist, whatever. Yeah. That was almost like a travel assignment too, because you moved across the country.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think when a lot of people complete their education, they think about traveling, but you really jumped in. So now let's say, okay, so you've been to North Carolina, you've been to various hospitals. Have you done any clinic work or all acute?
This past summer, I did do vaccine clinics as a travel assignment in Seattle.
Okay.
But that's about my only clinic experience. I did a travel assignment as a camp nurse as well.
Okay.
So that was just like similar to clinic nursing in that you're kind of doing first aid, like more just day-to-day clinic stuff.
Yeah. Not really, probably not satisfying enough for you when you're used to really going at a certain pace with a lot of acuity.
It was kind of a nice break.
Okay, there you go. There you go.
The camp nurse job was in Maine on a lake, like this giant lake, and it was beautiful in the summer. And basically just kind of doing first aid stuff, or like if a kid breaks a bone, you take them to the ER, and it's kind of fun.
Okay.
The vaccination clinic, I met a lot of cool people there. There was a lot of retired nurses, physicians, dentists that came and volunteered to do injections and stuff. And just meeting the whole gamut of people in Seattle, it was really cool.
Yeah. Were you doing COVID vaccines?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. And so did you, in some of your career where you're doing the step down, the post progressive, whatever, PC, they call it different things in different places.
I know, yeah, it's IMC,
post critical care, whatever. I know what you're talking about because I did lots of it. Did you feel compromised before you got vaccinated yourself?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
way back in whatever, March of 2020. How long has it been now?
Right. No, that's almost the year mark. Yeah.
Like March, April, May. We were using our N95s for weeks at a time. Like they told us to staple the straps back on if it broke and to keep using it. And
Oh my God, they stapled them back on?
Yeah. And they wouldn't let us get a new one until it was like completely like disintegrated pretty much. So you're in there just like, okay, I'm either going to get it or I'm not. Like if this N95 is actually working.
And you're doing a 12-hour shift with that mask on.
Oh yeah, and you have to keep it in a paper bag and you reuse it the next shift. And
my friend had the same thing. They dished out brown paper bags. Yeah, and about 6 months into it, her husband got her a sterilizer, so she would sterilize it when she'd get home.
Oh yeah, my dad like got me a face shield. He's a welder, and he's like, "Here, I have this extra face shield." I was like, "I'll take it."
Oh, bless your heart! Wow, and I think too that during that period that probably had an average of patient losses, sentinels, more so than in any other part of your career.
Oh yeah, this is the most in the past 18 months, the most I've seen being a nurse for 9.5 years.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
My friends, I really feel like my friends are really traumatized by it, and even if they could get a vacation, they couldn't leave home. Even if they could get time off. It's been a rough road. All right, so I don't want to dwell on that. I want to dwell on more of the technical pieces of traveling, because anybody that's out there that's watching this may be thinking about traveling, may have done it in the past or considering doing it again. So how about how did you get started? Who was your key person? Did you stick with the same company? Did you stick with the same recruiter? Did the contracts meet the needs? Because I've talked to some travel nurses and actually talked with them live like this, and they were like, "Oh, ho, ho, that first assignment, I was supposed to be in the ER. Oh no, they sent me to tele," and so things like that happen. So I wonder how your experience went.
Probably pretty similar. My very first travel contract was with a big national travel company. And I did feel pretty misled by them at first. I mean, I'm thankful it was at my original hospital, so I knew the staff there. I already knew the layout of the facility, all that stuff. It made it a lot easier transition for me. And just kind of getting the feel of how travel nursing works, how you work with your recruiter, how you all the expenses and stuff. But I thankfully did stay on my unit most of the time, but I was floated a lot, and I was never told I was supposed to float, all that aspect of travel nursing where you are the first to float. You a lot of times float campus to campus or floor to floor, sometimes mid shift. That was never explained to me.
Yeah.
And so I definitely
and that's not easy. That's not easy. There's
never been a float nurse, that hasn't been your realm in a hospital setting.
It doesn't seem like the most prudent way to take care of patients, but I think that they really lean on travelers to do that. And I know years ago when I was a manager for travelers, I had Southern California Kaiser, and every now and then they throw in Northern California Kaiser. And Kaiser was famous for that. They would float a travel nurse sometimes more than two or three times per shift.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got to know that. And when I was counseling nurses pre-assignment, because we would coach them through their exams and tell them what to expect and so forth. And I would say, if this is not for you, you have to know that this, I can't say when it's going to happen. Is it going to happen every day? But it will happen. And sometimes it will happen 2 or more times a shift. So if that's not for you, don't take the assignment. But you didn't even have warning.
No, I didn't. So, and there was a bunch of travelers that were working on my unit. And so I just started talking to them and say "Hey, what recruiter do you use? What company are you with? What's your pay like?" And so I got some recommendations from them, kind of picked a new recruiter based on what I had heard from them and what they felt how they felt their recruiters were working for them. So I started with a different company for my second contract, and I stayed with them for a decent amount of time.
Yeah.
But then started kind of switching companies based on where I could get jobs at. So I went more based on what cities I wanted to go to, what areas I wanted to be in. So then I would use like Facebook groups or websites and stuff for travel nurses to find where the jobs were that I wanted and who had those jobs.
So you became your own researcher.
Pretty much. You kind of have to do the work.
Do you feel that as time went on, that you got more out of your contracts because you said, look, I need this much salary, but what can you do for me as far as a travel stipend or an accommodation stipend?
Yeah, for sure. And I gained the confidence to know like how to ask for what I wanted. And, you know, if they couldn't do it, you could find another company that would. So just knowing what you want, knowing what is worth it to you in that assignment, what you need to put in your contract, that I learned that it took me like a couple of years to really learn how to kind of negotiate those things that were necessary for me in a contract, for sure.
Good for you. Something I often say when I'm broadcasting is like, have whatever your five top things. I'll work nights or I won't work nights. You know, these are the hills you die on, you know, I will float or I won't float, or I need to get a car. Have your five. And then the other five, you know, that they're asking of you, you can be flexible on.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
You have to know what you can live with. And that's always been a recommendation. So so I don't want to keep you because I think you're working tonight, right? You're a night girl. Okay. So now I'm going to ask you my three top questions.
All right.
What's the best thing that ever happened to you on assignment? What's the funniest thing that happened to you on assignment? And what would you tell somebody that's thinking about traveling?
Ooh, best thing that's happened to me on assignment. Actually, I did 2 contracts in Maine. So I did 1 contract at the summer camp, and then I went back and worked in Portland at a hospital. And I just met awesome people there. Like I got to go all over the place, the beaches, like they have Acadia National Park, Boston's right there, the fall foliage in Vermont and New Hampshire.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Like it was just an amazing experience, and everyone was so like the people I worked with were amazing and very traveler friendly, and I just made really fast friends and just got so much out of that assignment, just people wise and job wise, and it was just really cool. It was a really cool experience for me.
Nice.
Funniest? I mean, there's a few.
Patients can be funny.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Doctors can be funny. Nurses can be funny.
I had a patient one time, very confused. But every night I had him for 4 nights in a row. He would give me like a different job title every time I came in. Like one night I was a mermaid. One night I was a stripper that he had seen before. One night I was like his bus driver, I think. It was just the funniest. Like I've never laughed so hard with, and he was just like goofy like that. And it was just, everyone would come in. So like, how's the mermaid tonight? Like all my coworkers and stuff, because he would tell everybody. And I'm pretty sure they kept giving that patient back to me because I was just like, they were just interested to hear what I was going to be that night for that patient.
That is so adorable.
It was just, I was dying. Like I would just laugh every time I went in that room. It was so funny.
Okay, and what would you say, Sarah, would be one of the things you would say to somebody who's thinking about traveling? Some good advice if they're thinking about it.
If you're thinking about it, I would just say have a solid knowledge nursing base. I mean, you do need at least those 2 years. For sure, you have to be able to be adaptive, and like you get 4 hours of orientation sometime. At the hospitals you go to. You have to be willing to adapt and ask questions and be helpful, but just know your nursing knowledge. Like you just have to have that solid knowledge base, because a lot of times you're just going to be on your own.
Thank you.
A day after orientation.
Yeah. Did you find adjusting to different computer systems? Did you get the help you needed when that would happen? Did you have techno, guides or anything like that?
A lot of times, you would just get kind of that 1 day of computer class and then kind of have to figure it out on your own. Like I learned Epic in 4 hours.
Wow.
The first time I ever used Epic, and it was on shift. Like that's what they gave me. and like I've had to use Cerner. I've used Meditech before, which is awful. And a couple others. And you just have to learn how to navigate, like just know where you're like, they give you those like 100-page workbooks or whatever online that you have to go through, but just know that where those are and like to look through them. I had friends before that used Cerner, so I would text them and be like, how do you chart this?
Yeah.
So just knowing where your resources are. That's like the first thing I learned when I go on assignment is like, where do I find X, Y, and Z in the computer system? Thank you.
Yeah. And I think another thing, you oftentimes use that computer to schedule, to sign in, sign out, and so forth. So you're not going to get paid if you don't sign in and out. I think that's pretty key. I'm traveling. I do want to get paid for this.
Yes, I do want to get my hours put in. So,
well, that's lovely. And I would think somewhere in that list of good and happy would be meeting the man that you're with.
Yes, I didn't meet him. I met him through a fellow travel nurse. Like we were friends. We met on one of our assignments in Washington, and so she was dating one of his friends, and we like got together literally 2 days before Seattle went into lockdown for the pandemic.
Oh my goodness.
So I met him and then didn't see him for 6 weeks. So we like FaceTimed every day.
Oh, your story's delightful. Your smile's delightful. I'm gonna sign off with the commercial again, and I'm gonna call you real quick. I'm not gonna take a lot of your time, but I do want to call you because I forgot to tell you something.
Okay.
But thank you again, and then maybe we'll chat again sometime.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Okay, you can sign off, but I will be calling you in a minute.
Sounds good.
Okay, thanks.
Travel nursing can bring you to places you've never been before. Tell us your story.